Oliver, as you can see, is also here. He's back for the International Press Review. US presidential primary season kicks off in earnest today. This is going to dominate the news, I suspect, over the next few months, isn't it?
Yes, the people of Iowa go to the polls today to vote in the caucuses. It's strictly speaking not a primary. Mm-hmm. The primaries start next Monday in New Hampshire, but the respective political parties will face their first electoral test today. The votes differ from the primaries in a number of ways, one being they're a less formal gathering of communities, and it is delegates rather than the candidates themselves that are elected. The New York Times reports from the Midwest state. Trip Gabriel says that Iowa was supposed to be irrelevant this year, but the state's voters are poised to play perhaps their most significant role ever in both parties' nominating contests. It's the year of the outsider. The establishments of both parties have seen serious challenges within the state, capitalising on a lot of anti-Washington, anti-establishment sentiment. As the Republican Governor Terry E. Branstad says, Donald Trump has maintained his lead in the state, whose voters are fairly forgiving after he asked at a rally last autumn, how stupid are the people of Iowa? And that one, they've managed to take that in fairly good heart. Ted Cruz has also done well, trailing Trump by 3 points. But Bernie Sanders has been the biggest surprise, reflecting a recent poll in the Des Moines Register, which says 4 out of 10 Iowans describe themselves as socialist, meaning we'll probably have the first Iowan Soviet declared by the end of the year. Sanders is capitalising on anti-establishment anger, but Hillary Clinton has pulled 3 points ahead in the latest poll. Now, other polls run by the Des Moines Register, which is Iowa's main statewide daily, also bear out this anti-establishment sentiment. Many in both parties in the state feel that the system is rigged against all but the rich and powerful. That's 38% of Republicans in the state, and a whopping 67% of Democrats are of the same opinion. Now, the Register also notes that Trump and Sanders in particular are doing best among what they call unreliable caucus scores, namely the young, so they'll have to turn out in force to benefit the candidates. Dan Baltz in the Washington Post says that for all the questions about the process of the caucus, meaning it's a little bit informal, Iowa matters partly because it's the first test, and it also streamlines the field. And one thing that could be a factor today is the weather. There have been worries that a snowstorm could influence turnout, but that's probably not going to happen till after the poll. Still, you never can tell.
Okay, of course, we'll have the results on this programme around about this time tomorrow. Let's move on to what's set to be another big story this week. Syria, the peace talks, of course, expected to get underway in Geneva. Already facing quite a lot of obstacles, though, aren't they?
Yeah, not least a suicide attack, which killed more than 40 people at a Shiite shrine south of Damascus. Yesterday, the attack was carried out by the Islamic State group. The New York Times says that opposition groups are still deliberating on a list of 3,800 prisoners that they want to exchange with the government. Both government and opposition delegates are expected to meet with UN mediator Staffan de Mistura today, but we're still a long way off the opposition agreeing to sit down and talk with the Syrian regime. The Financial Times says that the Russian President Vladimir Putin is one of the biggest obstacles to peace, playing a double game, calling for peace and talks in Geneva, and he wants to bomb the opposition in Syria. He's treating Geneva as a smokescreen behind which to keep up his offensive. And the FT says that the US and his allies should actually be demanding Russia ceases its bombing the opposition rather than bully rebels to attend the talks.
And Oliver's found rather an alarming story coming out of the British press, this, about Syrian refugee children working in factories that supply high street clothing.
Yes, the Independent reports that a number of children have been found working in factories in Turkey that supply companies such as H&M and Next. They are the two companies that have actually admitted to that children have been found in their supply line, but there's about another dozen companies or so that are still remaining mum on that particular thing.
And finally from Oliver, another big business being accused of unethical practices, one that's been very much in the news during last week's taxi strike in Paris.
Yes, Evgeny Morozov, writing in yesterday's The Observer, which is the Guardian Group's Sunday paper, targets the cab hire company Uber. He says Uber's cheap cabs hide a true cost, which are heavy losses shouldered by a company with huge amounts of venture capital behind it. During the first 3 quarters of 2015, the company lost $1.7 billion, while booking revenues of only $1.2 billion. Morozov says that Uber and its Silicon Valley backers are banking on competition from taxi drivers being swept away, at which point the company will be free to raise fares and squeeze its drivers all the more. Uber also has an unfair advantage on its rival apps, such as the Finnish public transport sharing app Caucuses, which went under despite very promising growth. The reason being Uber has reserves of money that other companies and even governments don't have, mainly because Uber doesn't pay its fair share of tax.
Oliver, thanks very much. Oliver looking at the international papers, and Will with business with us as well here on France 24.